We've got another episode of TAAP for you today, and of course that's with two A's. We are the American Armory Podcast, and you can find us on YouTube and Rumble. I'm Chad.
I'm Michael.
And today we're going to do an unboxing, another first look.
Another first look. What do we got for us today?
So today we've got the Smith & Wesson M&P.
All right, pull that up, Mikey. There she is. That's the box.
And this is the M&P Shield 2.0 with a little surprise.
We did the Canic review, right?
Yes. So right here is kind of the difference is Canic, we'll grab this here real quick because I happen to have it with us.
Yeah.
Canic gives you this nice case with all the goodies in it that we talked about. If you haven't seen the review on the Canic, go back and watch it. It's a great first look at the Canic. Smith & Wesson gives you
A cardboard box.
Yes.
I'm not opposed to a cardboard box, but it's a clear difference.
Yes. And, I'm partial to the cases. Even Glock, their cases have gone downhill a little bit and gotten cheaper, but
Yeah.
I'm kind of partial to the cases. I can stick them on the shelf in the closet and have them all there in nice little cases, but it is what it is.
Not a deal breaker for
No,
me.
no, not a deal breaker. I'll tell you, I got this. They had a special on Palmetto Armory.
Okay.
$400.
Okay. So $400.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You ready?
So yep, let's see what we get in the box.
All right. Let's go back over
Yeah.
the camera here. Let's see. So what is this? So these are all the little tablets. So
Yep. All the little...
They inspect it before you even leave to check serial numbers and everything like
Yep.
that. So you have that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so there's your firearm right there. We have a little cubby hole. What's in the cubby hole? Oh, they have a lock.
Yep.
I don't like these locks, but it's nice that they give them to you. I probably have a box of these somewhere downstairs.
You and I both.
So,
They get thrown in the box of other stuff.
There's a magazine. So put the magazine out.
8-round magazine.
This is nice. A lot of manufacturers don't always do this, but this is your Allen wrench. It's nice. I have a bunch of these thrown in there. I wish I would have kept them separate because now I don't know which is what. So
I think that's everything in that little cubby.
Oh,
no.
I got a Palmetto Armory sticker.
Because that's where I bought it.
That's where you
So
got
they throw in their little swag there.
And it looks, what is this? Crimson Trace.
Yes, that's the little surprise.
Oh, you didn't tell me there's a surprise on this.
I told you it's got a surprise in there.
Oh.
I just said it a couple minutes ago.
Okay, well, I wasn't listening.
So yeah, you weren't. So let's get to that in a moment, because we'll get to that when we take it out of the bag and talk about it.
All right, ready?
They give you hold on. They give you their little warning.
There's a warning. Don't shoot your eye out, kid.
Yep. And then your manual, which again not as nice as the one from Canic, but it's a manual. How many manuals on firearms have you read?
How many should I have read?
Yeah, how many? We know how many you should have read, one for each one that you have, but how many did you actually read?
Probably a few. Yeah, it's nice, but when you're on your 17th Glock, you don't read that. It's the same thing. So,
it's a Glock, just has a different number after it this time.
I will tell you, it's nice when you're reading it. The manuals are nice. Don't get me wrong.
It's good for if you're doing a field strip or something, you run into an issue. It's nice to have to refer back to, but it's not required reading in my books.
Okay. There she is. Look at that.
We're gonna clear off some of this other area of things that aren't completely necessary at the moment.
I'm gonna leave this Crimson Trace.
Yes, we're gonna keep that out.
There's the one magazine. I'm gonna drop the other magazine in here too. I'm going to clear this, but I would like everybody to notice, see that orange thing? That is called a trigger block, or a barrel block. Generally, you'll get those when you buy them. This is why I don't like them right there, because if you open them and they fall in there, you have to stick your finger in there, and I don't.
You pretty much have to do it upside down.
Your finger. See this? That will snap a finger. Be careful. Don't reach in there. Lock the slide back. Oh, I see the special.
Yep.
I see it. I'm gonna.
Just give the grip a
Oh,
squeeze.
there it is. So see that light? There you go. This one came with a laser.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
Crimson Trace. I got it. So this is a lot like the Canic. It looks like this has a built-in
a little built-in Picatinny there, which
Yep.
you can't use because that laser is permanently mounted.
Yep. So you can't do that. There is a way you could. It looks like you could take the. It looks like it has
Yeah, you
a
could
wrap
take
around here, so you could actually take it off if you want.
Yeah, you could take the trigger guard assembly off, put a different trigger guard on there.
I would recommend if you're going to do something like that and you don't like the laser, then I would recommend taking it to a gunsmith to have that done. Okay, cool. I like that.
So yeah, I don't necessarily need the laser, but you know what? It's a nice little addition.
So these magazines, I can count, and I count to 8.
Yep. So 8 in the mag, 1 in the pipe.
That is different than your Canic.
Yes, that is. You definitely do not get the same amount of firepower with this.
Good news, California.
Yep, you can carry this one.
Yeah,
They haven't outlawed lasers on firearms yet, have they?
I don't know. It's California.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Pretty soon you'll be able to throw a rock at someone, and only maybe.
That's
here's
it. And you can't have 2 because
Yeah.
because then you can reload.
Right.
Okay.
Now here is the one thing that with these mags is different, and I don't know if I like them or not, is this. And let's go to the presentation camera here. Is it's got this little nub right there.
Oh, okay.
And what that does is it allows you, it's got one on each side, and it allows you to pull the spring back to load.
Okay.
Now, I will tell you, I did load each of these once just to see how that worked. I like it. I don't love it because first thing I did was slide this all the way down and put a round in there.
And the round flipped around.
Yep, and it flipped around and it's all in there, all goofy and wonky. So, if you have one of these, when you're doing that, you just want to incrementally lower that so that maybe it's got 2 rounds worth of space in it.
I will tell you how to load this.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a little advice here. When you load it, you're fine. You load it and just load it like you load any other magazines. When you get down to round 7 or 8, you know how when you load
tough.
that last round, anybody who's loaded a firearm knows that you get to round 9, 10, or
A couple away from what its max capacity
correct.
is.
And
Your thumb starts to hurt.
Now, here's how it happens in my household. All my magazines, my wife helps me load. She loads up to, depending on 1 or 2 minus out off the capacity, and then those magazines go to me, and I have to shove the rest of them in there. This is going to be where that helps.
Yes.
So when you get down to and it's loaded down here, pulling that in to feed it in, this might not be good for you,
Right.
but I will say for a woman shooter or someone that doesn't have the strength.
For Rebecca, for Mikey, for little old Jenny down the street that needs to get something to protect
Jenny,
herself.
how you doing?
That's going to be a nice feature because most people that I know, they hit that wall where it's hard to get another round in there.
Okay.
And they just don't fully load the magazine.
Yeah. This is why some people like the revolvers.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't have that problem. So, quite a bit different. These are single stack is
Yes.
what it looks like. If you don't know what a single stack is, single stack means it's just one on top of each other.
So let's...
I believe the Canic is a double stack, right?
Canic is a double stack, so just to show everyone.
So I'm going to put this, and you can see the thickness here too. So, and we also have the Canic out and the Glock that we were working with you earlier too.
Just for comparison, figure most people are familiar with Glocks, and hopefully you watched the Canic video. Like I said, if you haven't, go back and watch it. But hopefully people are going to get familiar with Canics.
Yeah. So if I stack this on, you can see that underneath. So and that's why you see the holes.
It just
right
kind of
there.
zigzags back and forth as you load them. It pushes them
Where this one doesn't have those holes on the back.
Yeah, that's
and
just
it's
straight
single
down.
Step, straight down. So, so what that means is that your magazine is not going to be as thick. So I could tell right off the bat, the Smith & Wesson is going to be thinner than it is going to be from the Canik. Okay?
And a lot thinner than the Glock.
So
Of course, it's also a full-size Glock, so...
That's true. We're working on a full-size Glock, so I can tell you I'm holding it. Now, we're empty. I also don't like the... I'm torn on this, because every time you squeeze it, you're using that laser, and I guess that, I'm like, okay, nope, Jenny's apartment's over that way, so let me go here. I hear Jenny in the kitchen, so I'm going to move the can. It's smooth.
Yeah,
it's
it
nice
is. It's
smooth.
really smooth.
I'm going to pull the trigger.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, let's see. I can feel the wall. Oh, that wall is just... Okay. The wall is real on this one. All right. Oh. This is different than the Canik. Oh, okay. So, the safety here.
Yeah. You have to squeeze that in. That is also a safety, I believe.
So, I got nothing here, so I'm pulling. You have to put the dovetail on, which means in this model, you have to see the red dot, and then it will click.
And the one without the red dot has that dovetail as well, I believe. That's a built-in safety for it. In this case, it also turns on the red dot.
So, in this case, it turns on the red dot. It is a safety. 1911s have this as well. Glocks and the Canik do not have this safety.
A lot of your striker fires don't. It's mainly a 1911 is what I've mainly seen that safety on.
I like that they did this on this and how it operates the laser. I can see how that works. And
nice thing about that is you don't have to worry about pushing a button to turn the laser on.
Right.
You grab it and you punch out, and you are then laser ready.
So if you see the laser, that means you can pull the trigger.
Yep. Well, you can pull the trigger anyways. It means something's going to come out the other end if you're...
Well, that's true.
Yeah, there's definitely a wall there.
Right.
And it's a stronger trigger pull, a heavier trigger pull than the Canik.
It is.
I would say, what, a little over 4 pounds maybe?
I would say about 4.5. I want to say Glock's about 5.
Yeah, it's not as heavy as a Glock.
Right.
And it seems like it's a little bit longer of a trigger pull than the Canik as well. Now I want to see what the reset is.
Oh.
I didn't even hear the reset.
I did. Did you hear the reset?
There it is. It's
quiet.
Yeah, it's a quiet reset, and there's more travel on the reset too. Go ahead and try it.
Okay. I could feel it. I could feel it. It's almost hard to hear.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. All right.
But it's also got more travel than that Canik had.
It does. It does. Oh.
So this, out of the box, definitely doesn't have all the things that the Canik has with it as far as the extra bells and whistles and everything. They do give you, since it's the
switch over.
Since it is the Crimson Trace, they do give you an instruction manual for that and toolkit for it.
Yep, so that's to adjust your laser to make sure it's all on site and ready to go.
And I will tell you, I looked at this and tried out. It looks like it is pretty spot on.
Does it? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put that right there with that. So pretty much what you get is what you see right here.
Right.
You get some little stickers.
Yeah. Now I do want to, let's compare the width of it. Hold it side by side with the back facing so we can kind of compare the width to the Canik.
All right, so we're going to do that.
Yep. So yeah, the Canik is a little bit wider, but for being a double stack, it's marginal.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. Let me, I'm going to do it like that. So I'm going to try and angle this just right. Canik is just a little bit thicker. Mm-hmm. But
which you have to expect with a double stack.
Let me.
But the other difference is the Canik is also shorter.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock barrel to barrel there. So I'm gonna put that there, and then I could use this magazine to kind of right up against the Canic, and you can see it is just marginally shorter.
Yeah, the Canic I think has a 3.1 inch barrel, and the M&P is, I want to say, 326, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
326 to 33.
It's just a little bit. This also has a little bit of a dovetail on it here. I like that. I like the extra dovetail on here because anybody who's been shooting or a new shooter, that can pinch. When that slide comes through, it looks like the Canic could still pinch you. This one won't.
Now, I have not fired anything out of this one, but I will say, just like with any compact, it's probably going to be snappy.
Yeah.
I can expect some snappiness from it.
So it looks like, even when I compare the two, it looks like the Smith & Wesson's a little bit longer on there as well. It sticks out. And I'll show you this. If I just go on the bottom here, that won't run all the way through. Even when I pull the Glock on here.
It's even longer than your Glock.
Yeah, it's even longer than the Glock. And it just has that little lever there. So, yeah, that's what you're comparing to there. If I go all of them there, you can see there's a bit of a difference there.
Now, I will tell you, this little piece here, I do like. Because if you look at the Canic, it doesn't have that. If you want to put a...
Well, it does, but it doesn't have a very big one.
Right,
so
well,
it's very
but
small.
when you put the mag in, and
It's
that's the
not
regular
flush.
mag, you're not flush. And if you put the 15-round mag in that, you really have a little bit of a drop there.
So when I put this in there, that little bit on the back end there makes it flush. Let me go over to this other camera here.
And
just
gives
so
you,
you can see.
it gives you a nice, comfortable grip on it. Not that the Canic is uncomfortable, but... And it may just be aesthetics as well for me, but I wish Canic would have put that in there.
Well, yeah, they could have just made it a little longer, but I think they're planning on making it short. So, I mean, that's not a deal breaker.
No, definitely not a deal breaker.
In fact, I could care less.
Let me see the M&P and if you. So, grip-wise, you've got some texture there. Definitely not as much as the Canic, but you do have some texture right here on the handle. You've got a little bit on the back, except for where the safety is. And then on the other side, you also have the grip in the front. If you want to give it a feel, see what you think of that grip. It's definitely not nearly as aggressive as the Canic.
It's actually a little wider than the Canic.
Yeah.
It feels a little wider. It might not look wider. I just think it has a different feel to it. So...
it may be the angle.
It's thinner.
It's thinner, and I think it's the angle also. It doesn't have quite the same angle on the handle that the Canic has.
No, it doesn't. But okay, yeah.
So with this, you have your mag release here.
Yep.
It is not ambidextrous, but looks like you may be able to take it to a gunsmith and have that done. If you are a left-handed shooter. Otherwise, sorry lefties, you're going to have to pull the finger back and drop it.
Yep.
So,
does it have a load indicator?
No load indicator. It does, well, no hot indicator on the back like what the Canic had. If you look there, but it does have the load indicator, which we'll go back down here because you can see it a little bit better.
Let me see. Oh, I see the little dot. Is that it?
Is that? I don't think that's a chamber indicator or a hot indicator.
Where's the magazine? Is it?
It's got the notch up here for your.
Oh yeah, it has a load indicator, but this one doesn't have. And that certainly happened. So because I slowed the magazine, it automatically locks back.
Right.
Not all guns do that. I really like that. So keep that in mind when you're going through. Nope, there is no load indicator on here. Or no
hot indicator where it's been racked. Now, the other thing this does not have is it does not have anything for mounting an optic, which with the laser sight on it, you really don't need. You still have your standard optics on it, your iron sights.
And I think that's a personal preference. I know it doesn't have the where you can put the holographics on
Mm-hmm.
there. I'm not a big fan of adding all kinds of weight to a pistol. If you want all that fun stuff, get a rifle.
Huh.
Get a one of my favorites. I have my 9mm, carbine rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we differ too.
Yep. And to me that's personal preference. Am I going to put a holographic on every handgun I own? No. But there are some that I like it on there. There are some that I think that for what I'm going to use that for, it makes it more functional and better to use. So,
All right.
so hold on. There's one more thing.
One more thing.
Yep. One thing that I didn't necessarily care for, and I'm going to see what you think, is right here, there is a little nub. And I find that to be rather uncomfortable. When you get a good solid grip on that, to me, that digs into my middle finger some.
It's rubber, so I don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. It doesn't bother me. I think it's just going to be something you get used to.
Right. Is it a deal breaker? No, but it.
Poor placement, I
Yeah.
think. All right, so you tear this one
Yep.
apart.
Go ahead and strip her down.
All right, I'm going to try not to break this one like I did the Canic. This is Smith & Wesson. So if you guys remember when I did the Canic, I screwed up and I got it
You
stuck.
pretended it was a Glock.
I pretended it was a Glock. I pretended it was another gun. So here's a Smith & Wesson. I'm going to leave the magazine in here just because the magazine on a Smith & Wesson forces it to lock back.
Well, no, actually don't, so that you show
Don't?
that you
Alright.
show that it has to lock back.
So with this, you lock back. That's your lock back right there. So,
Very similar to a Glock, just a little nub that you push up.
yep. So if you notice, when I did the Canic and when I did the Glock, the slide wasn't locked back. Smith and Wesson's a little different. You have to slide the lock back, and if you notice, you have this like little braille pattern right there, and then you have a little switch here. This switch has to come down like that, and then you have to release the slide. I would recommend controlling it. So this is the one thing that Smith & Wesson I'm not very fond of, because if you're just like me and you just drop slides and it just goes forward, this now becomes your projectile and you're going to look for it.
Although we did test it out, it does catch, but I wouldn't do that just because it's
So,
not nice to your little
If you
baby.
notice, this is now slid. And if you notice, it slid all the way forward. It didn't like stop like the Canic. So this one slides all the way forward. You have all your stuff there. The back, you'll notice that it has a little nub there. That, it's hard to see on camera, especially if I put my finger there. That is so it knows to clear all of the internal components. So that's nice. So this is just like any other thing. You still have the stuff. You pull it and you have all that. Of course, you have your spring. This is just one size spring because it's I think the barrel's a little longer on this one.
Right.
Okay. So when the barrel's a little longer, the spring's a little longer. And if it's a shorter barrel, sometimes they have a 2-spring system. And then you have your barrel. Again, square part is where the bullet's going to go in. And then you have your shaft. Your chamber is right up here. And then the round part is going to be your barrel. That's all that's the barrel for these. That's the bullet goes from here to there and you're done. Same thing, you have the bigger hole there is going to be for your barrel. The smaller hole is going to be for underneath the barrel is going to be for that. Same optics on this one as well. You still have just the white dot. And you can probably get a good view on that there. Yeah, see? Pretty good view right there.
Mm-hmm.
So breaks down very similar. All firearms break down similar. This is where, again...
All firearms of the same type. It breaks down completely different than an AR, but...
Oh, yeah.
And a striker-fired
Handgun.
pistol is going to break down very similar regardless of who makes it. There are going to be little quirks with it. Like with the Canic, the slide doesn't go all the way forward. With this, you have that other piece that you have to fold down.
Yeah.
Actually, before you go ahead and put it back together and we'll take it apart again.
What are we going to do?
I want to compare the barrel to the Canic barrel, just so people can get an idea as to the length.
You want me to tear apart?
Well, here, hand me the Canic. I'll tear apart the Canic.
Okay. Here's an entire part of the mechanic. Can you do it on camera? Are you good at it? Let's see you stretch here. I'll scoot over for you. Are you good at this? We're gonna bring up on the other camera. I want to see this. Have you?
Oh, come on. Now it's going to fight with me. I was doing it like it was nothing earlier.
Yep. You gotta pull the trigger first.
Oh, that's right. With this one, you have to...
All firearms with these striker fires generally have to pull the firearm, pull that first. So, all right.
I'm going to let you do the internals because your hands are already greasy from doing this.
Yep. So, all right. So we have, there's your uppers, there's your barrels, and there's your spring system. So if you see, that's two firearms torn apart there without the lowers. If you notice the barrel, there you go. You see there's a pretty good difference.
Yeah.
Let me do it this way here so you can see a little bit better. You got quite a bit of room before you get to the end of the barrel.
Yeah,
there.
it's almost a half-inch longer.
So it's a little bit longer. It's not much.
No.
I mean, as far as firearm goes, you're talking a half an inch, and you know, it's not like you're having sex here.
Half an inch can make a difference.
Yeah.
But it's not so big that you can't easily conceal carry this if that's what you're getting it for.
Right, right. I always caution people to only take apart one gun at a time if you don't if you don't do it a lot.
Right. And that's why we're keeping M&P and Canic on
Right.
opposite sides.
And even of the receivers that are below, like the receiver for the Smith & Wesson is here. So I'm gonna move that here and move the Canic over here. So when you're looking at it all, that's what you're looking at. So let's put back the Canic, and I'm gonna show you the difference here. So with Canic, I'm gonna have the barrel drops in, okay? So I do this okay, so I drop the barrel in. I'm gonna do this
Simultaneously?
Simultaneously. That's the word I'm looking for.
And mirrored. Simultaneously and mirrored. So.
Oh yeah, mirrored. There you go. So I'm gonna drop this in. Now you have to know how to drop the barrel in. There's gonna be, sharp bits on the end for the spring. So then the spring on the Canic is gonna go in there, and then the spring, one side is gonna be almost like a nail. One's going to be wider. So when you're doing this, and I'm mirrored, so I'll put that in there, and then the flat end goes against that because it has to click right into that. So, and because it's new, you have to line up because that's very, very small. So you have to make sure, see how it pushes out. So that's lined up. So those two are back together. Now, again, we're going to do the Canic first. So, Canic, you have to start at this weird angle, right?
Not. I wouldn't say it's a weird angle because you're still putting it on flush. It's just you're starting almost at the back of the firearm when you're doing that.
See how you see how far back you are, and then it just goes on. Now, if you saw me put a Glock together, you saw this very similar. See how I started over here? This is where I went wrong with Canic, right? But this is where I'm going to slap. And you have to jiggle it when you're going through, all the way through. Because that has to line up right through there. See, that's where it's going to get stuck. And then go all the way back. And then I would recommend locking it. Let me play with it here. That's up, that's in. And that is off there a little bit.
Something was catching.
Yep, that happens. That's all the way down. Why is it catching? There it goes. Let me see where it was. Okay, that's flat. That's... Make sure
We're gonna have to talk about you and stripping down handguns for a field strip, I think.
New guns are always kind of a pain in the ass when you first start to put together. because that's just what happens. So the problem is it's getting caught right about there. See? That
You
should
can't
be
fully-
caught. So I'm thinking it's a spring issue. That's a spring
And
issue.
that's what he meant by,
Getting caught.
well, not getting caught, by making sure that you control that slide when you release it and
Yeah.
take this apart, because
So what's happening here is that spring has to sit just right in that little lip right there. And this has to slide just right through there. So there we go. So I have this spring up just a hair. Sometimes you have to get your finger in there and, oh, I see where the problem is.
is it made to fit one way?
Well, look at that.
Yep. Why don't you show them on camera so that...
Look at that. So that's, remember I said it was like a nail? It's not quite like a nail.
Not on this one. It's got 2 flat sides and 2 slightly rounded sides, so you have to make sure that you're sticking it in there oriented the correct way.
Yep. So you have to make sure that that is round bit down.
No, I would think it's going to be flat side down.
You think?
I think so.
Well, let's find out. Maybe I had it round side down, and it should be flat side down. Because it was catching on something.
Mm-hmm. And I think you had it round side down, so there was a little bit of extra metal sticking out there that was catching.
All right, let's find out. Let's
See, one of the reasons we do this is it's an adventure for everyone.
yeah, it's fun.
You always find something new, some little quirk.
Nope, that's square side down, and she does not want to go at all. That is kind of different. So,
But no, it looks like it got moved in there.
Nope, it's still there. That's flat side down.
Okay.
So let me
Reorient it.
reorient that to flat. So let's do it like that, and then that's still down. So let's see how this works. It doesn't like the. There it goes.
All right, so now we know it is round side down.
So once I slide it back, you go through like that, you click that in, and then down you go. So, interesting. That's
Yes.
not round. I'm used to round. Okay.
Mhm.
So these are the things that I always say with a firearm. When you get a new firearm, little different things like that cause problems.
Yeah, little quirks that each manufacturer has and how they do things. So, and again, I said it on the Canic review. We both have been Glock guys forever, and we're used to how Glock works. And
And I have it, so I'm going to do this real quick, so flip over to the other camera. So, we're empty, okay? This is Glock. That's perfectly round. It doesn't matter which, there's no orientation for this spring here. There's the barrel for it. There's no orientation. Now, the flat side has to go toward this, but we're going to, now this is where Glock is always kind of stuck there with a big barrel. You put that in there, you put this right in here, you snap, and you can feel it snap in there.
I can hear it snap in there.
And then Glock, if I get it on both sides here, so, I don't know. See, I missed.
Yep.
So, do you see that? That is when you go for the long pull and a long gun, you'll have that. Now, if I didn't know what I was doing and I just kind of said, "Oh yeah, it went on," and I don't pay attention, this is not going to work.
You're gonna have a problem.
Right. You're going to have a big problem. So now it doesn't take much because I just have to slide back, and then normally you just get it like this, and now I'm back on. So this is ready to go. That's the difference with the long pull and the short pull.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I said I didn't like that on the Canic. That solved that problem. That did. Okay.
So yeah, little quirks with each, and I think we both recommend this, is before you take it out shooting or anything, do a quick field strip on it.
Yep.
Get familiar with how it disassembles, reassembles.
Yep.
If for no other reason, you're at the range, you have a malfunction, and you have to start monkeying with it, you want to know how the quirks about that firearm,
Right.
how things go back together.
And here's the thing: you could be I don't know how many times I've disassembled a firearm. I could not even count at this life.
I know for a fact you can do a Glock in your sleep.
Yeah, I blindfolded in my sleep along with an AR and a few others. But there's a few little issues with these new guns that even if you're experienced, you can still run into issues. If you act like you know everything with a firearm, you're fooling yourself first, and you're an idiot because no one knows everything about it. I didn't even catch that little notches on that one.
Yeah, from now on, we're going to remember that when we strip this down with the Canic, we're going to remember that it doesn't fully slide off and on. You have to set it back a little bit. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to hand that back over to you.
Okay.
And I'll put the ones over there. So
I do like it. It's, again, I think that the handle is a little bit longer right here, and that's what we're feeling.
Yeah.
But it's got to hand me a mag if you would.
All right. How does your finger hang on that? Does it?
No, it doesn't. With the mag in, it doesn't. That's why I asked you for the mag.
Okay.
Is because it'll fully give me the pinky spot. Okay. I was holding it before, and my pinky didn't have anywhere to go, and it felt lonely. So overall, I think it's a good gun, especially again if you're looking to conceal carry. I think the nice thing about this, with how easy that slide is,
right?
And now it's catching.
The magazine's on.
Oh, that's right, because I have the magazine in.
I have the. Okay, this is the difference. So, magazine in the Canic, it does lock back too. I don't
have a mag for the Glock,
so I'm not even bothered. So it does lock back. Most firearms will lock back with the magazine in there. So keep that in mind when you're doing this stuff too. I guess the other thing I'd have to say is play with it. If something don't force it. Okay.
Right.
Don't ever force it. When something doesn't go right, look at it, see why it's not going right. You could cause something to break. You could see where it didn't go through. I think I could have probably forced it because I think that pin was just a little bit, and if I would have forced it, it would have snapped it in the right place.
Or it could have bent it or broke it. So
correct. And I would err on the side.
Right.
It's not my
so
gun.
Right, exactly. So back to the M&P. The one thing that I really like about this for female, someone older, maybe arthritic hands, is that slide is nice and easy. It doesn't. It's the spring isn't so tight that you really have to muscle it back. I know we've got a lady that we know that she is also into firearms, but she's a bit older and has arthritic hands, and we had to teach her the push and pull method.
Oh yeah.
But this, you don't even need to.
Yeah. Mikey, hand me my universal holster. Just so I know what we're working with here. I'm curious, guys. Yep, it doesn't matter. I got a holster. So this is my universal holster. So with this, my Glock snaps right in there. It doesn't come out. Nice and fit. It's designed for that. Canic. Same thing. It won't come out.
This one may not because of the laser.
That's
it may
what
not
we're going to
fit.
try.
No, it's not going to fit because of the laser.
So that's not going to go because of the laser. Okay, that's also why I want to try it. Now that is not necessarily a deal breaker because.
Oh, you can muscle in there a little bit, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be a nice snug. Oh, maybe.
So I muscled it in there. I don't like the way that fits. I don't like the way that goes in. Accessories cause problems with holsters, especially these plastic holsters that are
the universal ones.
universal.
You can go to a company and get one.
Alien.
You can go to a company and get one that they make it specifically for this model.
Correct.
With this laser sight on, and they use that as a base to mold it.
So
I don't think you're going to get that.
This is my alien gear. It's the plastic on the back. I can tell you right now
that's not going to happen.
That's not going to go because this is designed. All right, let's go to the camera
Yeah,
here.
the trigger guard is designed for.
See, it's designed for this to go here. If you look, you're not going to get it in there. The reason you can force it in here is because it's plastic and it will spread up there. Now, Mikey, I don't know why you're sitting down. Go get me a belly band here.
That will fit in a belly band.
So
I was wearing that the other day in a belly band.
We go through holsters. Now this is so I have my belly band here. Right there. So this is where the firearm goes, right there. So just right there. Let's see here. It will not go in my belly band.
It goes in mine.
That's because you don't have a...
Right, I don't have that strand, and mine also has a strap that you snap to for a second level of security.
So unfortunately, this will not fit in any holsters I have. So
now, I didn't bring it, but I bet that will fit in my shoulder rig just because of how my shoulder rig is set up.
Generally, a shoulder rig will, because the shoulder rig you
has
push
a triangle pocket, and
it has so it's a different because it's not form fitted there.
Right.
I probably have a few holsters that are open carry that may fit it. I'm not 100% sure.
So
now I'm not going to buy. If I know that the gun comes with a laser, I'm going to have to find a holster that will accept that.
Right.
Woo! All right.
So let's get back to
Don't
this.
Don't throw a gun. Holsters are a different story.
Let's get back to this because after all, this is the star of the night.
All right.
So your pros and cons. What are your pros and cons on that? And not just for you, in general.
In general, it's longer than it is thick, so that feels different.
Right.
If you're not used to that, that can be a problem. Single stack, so it only holds 8 rounds. If you're in California, that's great. When you're where I'm at and you want to carry 12, whatever it is.
Get the 33 round Glock mag and stick it in your...
Right. To me, I don't understand why they couldn't have just made it a little thicker and just went a double stack, but it is what it is. I want to say it just feels different in your hand. The dovetail doesn't... I wish the dovetail went up a little bit. It just doesn't fit. It feels like the top of my hand gets on top of it. And I almost feel like it's going to pinch me. It hasn't, but it does. I would have preferred that dovetail run all the way up into it, or the safety on the back
on it
ran all the way up and not have this weird, nowhere
where it starts to dovetail, but you still got that gap.
Yeah, if you're going to dovetail it. Don't just do this half-ass shit. Laser's nice, but the problem is if this is just going to sit in your drawer for, that battery is going to corrode.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of lasers on a lot of this stuff.
Now, it does, I believe, on the bottom, it does have a spot where you can open that up and take out the batteries.
I'm not going to do it.
No.
But, okay.
So if it is going to sit in your drawer for a while, you're not planning on using it. It's not going to be your go-to emergency firearm. Take the batteries out so they don't corrode.
I will tell you, I don't know. It's I would actually probably, without shooting it and just out of the box, I'm gonna give this one a 7, maybe 7.5.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's fair. For me, my pros and cons. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said about the Canic. I would really like a high def front sight on that instead of just the white. Now, with this, because it does have the, see if we can get on the camera there, it does have the little, I'm going to put a hole wherever that red dot is. You don't need that as much because, well, you have the sights as a backup in this case. You always have your iron sights as a backup because if this battery goes dead, you don't have that laser anymore. So, I probably will, even though I don't need it, I probably will swap that front sight out for a high def front sight.
Probably a good idea.
I like that it's smooth and it's not something that is hard to run when you're pulling that slide back. I think, like I said, for someone who has weaker hands, maybe a smaller female or someone older with arthritic hands, that's going to be a big plus for them.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to see them struggling trying to rack that slide.
Right.
I'm with you on this safety here. It's going to take a little bit of getting used to because it does feel like you could pinch your hand in there. And I very much, if you want to slide over just a touch so I can get this point in the safe, I very much, when I go in, I like to get aggressive with my grip and really push the webbing of my thumb in there.
Yeah.
And wrap around.
You almost don't want to.
Yeah, it's you almost feel like something could get stuck in there because I get high up on it. And the reason I do that, I'll talk about the bore axis on this a little bit. It's not bad, but it does sit high, which means you're going to get a little bit more snappy.
Right.
But I like to get as high up in that as I can to control that snappiness. Other things, like I mentioned, this little nub, because I do like to get in there with an aggressive grip and really hold it, it's going to take some getting used to. Unless that is holding, if it's just there for decoration, that may get filed down.
It's not there for decoration.
No, it isn't. It's there to hold this little bottom piece of the trigger guard on, so I'm going to have to learn to live with it. I think it's got a good feel. Again, I'm like you. I think that this maybe could have been a little bit wider, just to give it a more uniform feel. And we're both very used to double stack firearms, so you do get that width in there. My gripes about it, I think the texturing, while it's sufficient, I could think they could have gotten a little bit more aggressive with that. Especially with being a compact firearm that's going to be a little bit snappy. With you, I'm with the single stack. It's nice because you're nice and thin there. You're not going to print as much with this sticking out.
Yeah.
But it's still a single stack. I guess the offset to that is, again, we have that laser sight, so probably not going to need as many if you're not as good of a shot.
Yeah. What's your rating?
Overall, I'm going to give it, I think it's a solid 7.5. I'll find out more once we go to the range and put some Freedom pellets downrange.
Okay.
But I think overall, I think it's a good, solid firearm. I would recommend it, especially for smaller females, someone older, arthritic hands. I love the Canic. I think of the two, I think I prefer the Canic.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a little bit harder to rack than the. We're not even on camera with them.
Oh.
It's a little bit harder to rack than this one. It's just and that one is.
Canic also has.
They have some nice striations in there and some nice grip texture
on the front and the back. So.
And I do like to rack from the front most of the time.
I don't. I will tell you, if I'm left-handed, I will do it from the front. But when I standard rack, I'm racking from the back.
But yeah, just to get an idea, because you racked that a couple of times. Oh, I got a mag in there still.
Yeah, drop the mags. Yeah.
Look at the difference in.
Yeah,
this has definitely got a stronger spring.
Yeah, I will say if you don't have the strength, or if you're, like I said, older female, older guy,
arthritic hands.
arthritis.
Yeah. Which I'm going to be there soon.
Yeah, it's going to get there. I would say, hands down, I give it to the Smith & Wesson over the Canic. It's just easier to, and I'm gonna here's how I'm going to show you.
Yeah, one finger.
Pinch myself. So.
Here, I'm just going to steady it. I'm not putting any pressure on there.
Yeah, I could rack that quite a bit, and if I try.
I'll do the same thing. I'm just going to stick my fingers in there to steady it.
Yeah, I could start to get it, but
that spring kicks in, and that's a hefty spring in there.
I have to say I have to get it to the Smith & Wesson just because it's so easy to do it.
Well, there's a reason they put Easy Slide in the name of it, so.
Oh, they did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that would explain that. Okay.
So yeah, I'd give it a solid 7.5. I like it. I'm excited to shoot it and see how that goes.
200 rounds on this one too?
Yep, we're going to do the same thing we planned with the Canic. We're going to do 200 rounds, give an impression. Hopefully we can time it so that maybe we can give impressions on both of them at the same time, make it kind of a one show.
Oh, a comparison?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
and then 1,000 rounds, no cleaning, nothing, just shoot it, put it in the case, take it out, shoot it, put it in the case. Okay. Well, there's not a case with this one. I'll have to go find a case for it. But yeah, 1,000 rounds and look for malfunctions, any different quirks, and then kind of give our 1,000 round review on each of them.
All right, that'll work.
All right, well, that I think is going to take us to the end here.
Yep, so make sure you check out our website, doubletap.com. Remember, 2A for a reason. And always be safe and make sure you're shooting straight.
And we'll see you next time. And again, no cleaning. I like these shows. You don't have to clean.
Yeah,
you have to go clean your hands, but
you're gonna have to do. You handle these too.
Yeah.